We now return to our Inara Commander series with Mack Winston, Season 2, Episode 3, Phony War. Docking Bay, Harvestport, Kappa Fornacis. I stood with Cal in front of the William F. McCoy, all her markings gone, the ship now matte black from nose to tail. With us was Captain Frank Smith, an Imperial Ground Army regular. He wasn't as I had imagined. I'd always thought the Imperial Army officers would be grizzled veterans who did a lot of shouting. But by contrast, Captain Smith was a young athletic man, with skin and hair nearly as black as space itself, and he spoke quietly, precisely, and overall with a calm confidence that was at odds with the stereotype of the military commander. Arrayed in front of us were 120 soldiers, young men and women, armed to the teeth, dressed in drab, dark gray reactive armor. Smith had made them neatly line up on parade. "It looks like we're trying to invade a planet," I said quietly to Cal as they had filed in. Smith had overheard.
"That's because we're invading a planet,"
he explained with a wry smile. Apart from the change to our paintwork, our cargo racks had all gone and been replaced with troop transport modules. I wondered why they didn't just use a regular military transport, why they had to use ours. Sure, I could smuggle. Smuggling an aquarium past a Federation customs team, who were actually looking for Onion Head, was one thing. Smuggling 120 horribly beweaponed soldiers was something quite different. Smith walked down the line of his troops, inspecting them carefully before dismissing them. They filed away, boarding the ship via the cargo hatch loading ramp, which I thought was a novel way to board a clipper. The ramp now led to the troop transport modules rather than the racking machine. I shrugged, and the three of us followed the troops in. I closed the ramp up behind me.
"Take me to your briefing room and I'll explain our mission,"
Smith told me as we closed up. Briefing room? I didn't have one as such. Perhaps the living quarters main rec room would do the job. "Would you like a coffee?" I asked as we entered. "We have Requashin Ultra. I think we've got some sort of espresso and we might have some Capital Blend left," I asked, trying to be the welcoming host.
"You seriously have Requat Ultra?"
Smith asked, slightly incredulously.
"That stuff is revolting,"
he added, pulling a face familiar to anyone trying the stuff for the first time. "I think it tastes like chewed pencils and lubricating oil myself, sir," I said, agreeing. "But it does help the concentration." Smith nodded.
"I think the Capital Blend is more my type of thing. Black, no sugar."
"Cal?"
"Make that 2.
I put the coffee machine on. Meanwhile, Smith pulled out his datapad and interfaced it with our holosuite.
"Okay, we sort of have 2 missions here,"
he began as I poured the coffee.
"Both in LP 771-72. As you may have already expected, the first is probably the trickiest. We need to disable Kui installation on the first planet."
I was pretty familiar with the area, having spent enough time at Levchenko installation in orbit around that planet running EIC missions.
"We need to arrive at Kui unobserved. We have 4 Special Forces personnel on board who will take the vehicle, break into the installation, and block any communications from the aristocrats. This is vital to ensure that the second part of the mission succeeds. We need to be unobserved because we don't want LP 771-72 systems to know that it's us who have done it. They are the telecoms provider for the system, and your company needs to stay on good terms with them. They own Kui."
I looked at the map of the planet. "I think I know how we do this," I began. "It's quite a large planet, so we'll need to approach from here, from the north," I said, indicating an area where we'd be able to drop down below the horizon. "There's a system of shallow valleys that lead towards Kui, which is in a slight depression." I rotated the map around. "This valley has a ridge that pokes out into it, and we can get within about 4 kilometers of Kui hidden by the landscape. The planet's tidally locked, and Kui's always on the dark side, so unless they're actively looking for us, you can probably get your vehicle from there on in unobserved. We drop your guys, then we turn around and head out the way we came in. What's the supercrew situation like in LP 771-72?
"It's pretty safe. The aristocrats have been trying to stop and scan the traffic they suspect, but most of the ships are committed to various war zones around the system. Imperial recon missions have shown they are down to just 3 ships patrolling supercruise, which are being constantly harassed by East India Company vessels."
So the second part?
"That's the easy bit. With any net traffic to or from aristocrats being blocked, you just need to land at Shoots Enterprise on the other side of the same planet and let everyone else off. Shoots is now the aristocrats' largest base in the system.
If they refuse docking permission?
They won't, because they think you're delivering hand weapons to them.
I have to ask, why choose us to do the troop transport? Surely the Empire has troop transport ships coming out its ears.
Your face and your ship fits the mission they think you're doing for them. You don't look Imperial. You don't speak like the Imperials speak, and you don't act like us either. Furthermore, you've been in and out of the system all the time, and we know you've run missions for the aristocrats, so they won't be too suspicious. You're just another freelancer, and not just any freelancer, a freelancer they think they're friendly with. The fools will trust you enough to at least let you dock. Once you've docked, it's game over for them. We unload, and before they know it, we've got their leadership.
I did wonder about how exactly our relationship with the aristocrats had gone sour. There had been company orders to trade with the aristocrats and support them, and it was true. Most of us Pilots Federation members were EIC contractors rather than actually belonging to the company as such. And we would have looked like any other freelance contractor to the aristocrats. But despite the trade and the orders to support the aristocrats, we were now at war with them, and a war that the aristocrats had supposedly started. I felt there was probably more to this than anyone was letting on. Smith continued.
All you have to do is be yourself. Even if they do get suspicious, by the time they realize they've been had, their communications will be blocked, and they'll be facing over 100 highly trained Imperial soldiers. We're hoping, with the absolute bare minimum of bloodshed, Shoots Enterprises will belong to the East India Company within hours.
With the briefing over, Cal and I went up to the flight deck, leaving Smith to go back to supervise his troops. As I clipped myself into the captain's seat of our clipper, Cal and I looked at each other.
Is it just me?
He remarked.
Or does this seem a bit easy?
Yeah, something's bothering me about this. The fact that we're at war with the aristocrats seems odd and, well, convenient to someone. Although, I added, recalling a rather painful memory, there was that guy at Vernadsky Platform who hit me with a metal bar a while back. I'd quite like to repay him in kind when this is all done.